Okay, let me see this real quick.
I think if either of us is the talk.
Although Blizzard very publicly banned boosting communities way back in January of this year, third-party communities are alive and well. In a recent Twitter post by Pancake, it is shown that many boosting communities are still in operation, matching players with groups to carry them through content for copious amounts of gold. Boosting communities on Europe, why were they not banned? Work of devs. Doc, Google. This shoots shots at Method too, but it's deserved. Willfully breaking the rules for a massive advantage deserves to be called out instead of
Talk
ignored.
about this properly. It is
Okay.
you.
The main boosting community that was focused on in this Twitter thread was Dawn, which Method are apparently very active in.
Because our whole initial look into boosting, video series we did and everything, that really was from your side of things. So, Matt, boosting, the discussion is back. The problem is not solved, as it turns out.
Who'd have thought?
Who would have thunk?
Who would possibly have thought that the boosting communities who are making tons of money would have went away when Blizzard said, "Please go away.
Oh,
We will
what?
ban you if you don't do this very specific workaround." They all just kind of did the workaround. So I believe this was Pancake from earlier. I'll fire it up here. Pancake earlier is like, yeah, boosting communities. Why were they not banned? It's like apparently Method were completely in there as well. I need to actually look at that document, but I mean, this is the same case. If you've been in any of the discords, they've definitely all like got around, right? They've all went, okay, well, we'll take a break to figure out how we get around this,
Yeah.
and then they show up again, going, yeah, we're just going to skirt around the letter of the law
Yeah.
because Blizzard don't have the capacity to actually enforce the spirit of the law, which is don't be boosting, basically speaking, unless you're a guild. So
Bro, Blizzard doesn't even have the capacity to ban people who are like saying racial slurs. Which, in my opinion, I don't really care about. They can. I'm not saying they should be saying it, but I'm saying I don't know if Blizzard should moderate it. To be honest, like if people are toxic, you'll find other people. Like it's such a massive. Like there's so many people. Just slash ignore people who are being racist and like move on with your life. I don't know, or like toxic or whatever. Eventually going to have so many people on ignore, you will only meet people who are decent. I think that's an easier way than having racist people not banned, but they're censored, so you don't know if you're dealing with racists or not in the first place. I would much rather know that I'm dealing with pieces of shit than not know if I'm dealing with pieces of shit. And the only way to know that is like if they're still there, unless Blizzard was just banning them outright, which they won't because they don't have the capacity.
So I mean, I've even had a load of pings on Discord recently from announcements from these servers because I was like on them to investigate and stuff. And actually, here's the Google document. I can't open it for you now, but yeah, no action was taken against anyone in Europe as far as we're aware. This has made some of them so confident they're even actively trying to expand. For many guilds that are not breaking the rules by still partnering up.
Well, didn't they fire like 800 people from their European offices, like France or whatever? So isn't that why they're not banning anyone in Europe? Because like the devs in Europe, like the GMs in Europe, are just not there anymore.
With communities, this creates an impossible situation because a majority of buyers still go through communities. And Method, taking the chance to go with the community, gives them a massive advantage because of the amount of gold they can earn in a short time with almost no work from their side besides boosting.
Yeah,
So that's the fun thing. Yeah, there's five active community.
I honestly don't think it's that much gold for a short time. To be, if I'm completely fair, you can make more gold farming certain BOE items for the auction house, and I'm not gonna share my secret gold farming, than you can for doing what's it called? For doing boost runs. Unless you're selling like a mythic raid or what clear, then yeah, maybe. But like heroic raid clear is not worth it. Mythic plus is not worth it. Mythic plus is about 40,000, and I would say it's about 40,000 an hour. I have played World of Warcraft. Let's see, I resubbed I think 2 weeks ago. I have played maybe in total of 2 or 3 hours, and I made well over 700,000 gold right now. Right, and I'm not playing all the time. I'm literally just like playing 5 minutes, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Get my BOE, boom, put in an auction house, wait for a few days. Obviously, there certain POEs are just you don't want to have too many of them on the auction house, but it's like I would say the only thing that goes for boosting communities is that it's a constant stream of gold rather than it's a lot of gold.
Communities who never stopped. Dawn, Oblivion, Nova, Sylvanas, and Twilight, with Method working with Dawn. So that's a case where, like, I don't really know what you do against boosting without just saying, go fuck off, all of you. We've covered in depth, like, how that's kind of not really going to be a problem. So
Here's an easy solution to boosting. Make it so the BOEs not sell for the same currency that the token is. Make it very annoying to get a token. Actually, better yet, make it impossible to use a token to buy items. Token you can buy for gold. There are ways to get gold, but best in slot gear is not bought with gold. That would solve your problem with people paying to win in World of Warcraft. I mean, I don't know why I did this. Technically, they are paying to win, but whatever. Paying to win World of Warcraft on BOEs, doing split BOEs is fine, in my opinion. But yeah, have a certain currency that you can only use in the auction house for gear, and gold is for something else, right? Any non-current item. Sorry, sneeze. As we say in Russian, when you sneeze, it's the truth. But here's what you gotta do. Any current tier item that is on the auction house will be designated to a certain currency that is you can only obtain from current you can only buy with current tier token. Once the tier is over, the tokens turn into gold. The items that were using for tokens will switch to gold. They will be sent back to the mail if they need to be switched, and then the next tier items that you can sell will be available through token or something of the sort. So make it so that whatever you can buy with a WoW token. When I say token, by the way, I mean like a Valor Seal, whatever. But the WoW token can only be transferred via gold. So anything you can make with gold, you can buy a token. But the current tier items you cannot buy with gold, you cannot sell for gold. That's it.
they need to recruit players to enforce rules like in a bad MMO anime. Almost certainly. That wouldn't make any sense, but almost certainly. They need like GMs walking around, standing, just being imposing presences. That would maybe sort it out. But yeah, exactly, Stephen. They called Blizzard's buff, or bluff, brother. Like, yeah, you're not going to do anything about it because this is such
Yeah.
a portion of gameplay, such a portion of experience. All the positives there are just absolutely they're solid positives, and Blizzard didn't want to get rid of them because so many players were profiting, so many players were playing because
Yo,
of it. So
Matt, you
much of the
gotta
WoW
do
token
something
cycling
about
was
your
going around.
mustache.
It's man, it's
His mustache is bothering me, not because of like that hole here, because like if he eats, his mustache is in the food. You gotta trim a bit, brother. You gotta get that lip trimmed.
completely brutal. This is the end game of WoW becoming the gold selling websites themselves. Changed my mind. Caligula, that's kind of the problem
Change my
where
mind.
you have to really that's like they'll never go to that length because they still want to have World of Warcraft have some respect, but it certainly feels like the direction they're going. But let me see. There was a tweet from Scripe I remember I thought was fairly interesting about this. Yeah, so the whole thing about the actual communities being existing, what they're there for. One of the reasons they continue for a lot of Mythic players is that Mythic players need gold to play the game. The Mythic guilds need tons of gold to play the game. There's no real way around it with the current system, just because
Yeah,
pulls
you
require
gotta
so much.
change
We
the
actually
system.
we did a video. I can't remember how long ago it was now, but we did some calculating of. I think Dakor grabbed all of the like average prices of items across a bunch of servers, and we figured out how much it costs a mythic raider in terms of like gold, but also real world money. And I can't remember it specifically, but it was something to the effect of, what was it? Maybe it doubled the price of your sub sometimes if you were to go purely through WoW token. And that's a case of like you just need so much, and that's just like your all of your consumables. But as Scribe says, Method and other guilds are cornered into doing this kind of stuff when you ban the boosting communities, but you keep the insane requirements for gold and money to compete.
Yeah.
He said he doesn't blame Method here, but Blizzard need either loosen the rules up or stop people from breaking them. And he says that Blizzard were like absolutely informed about it in private. They know this is going on, but they didn't act quick enough, which then means this information is all public. And that's just, it's brutal. I mean, Nagura responded saying, how do you stop the insane gold requirements to compete? Because the costs are mostly to do with basically buying off players to trade in loot.
You know how you stop it? Aside from what I already said, change the consumable system. Food doesn't disappear on death. Elixirs don't disappear on death, which I believe they don't anyways. But like, that shit stays after death. Food lasts for an hour, flask lasts for an hour, doesn't disappear with death. Boom, problem solved. As far as the biggest consumption, I would say is the combat potions. I mean, have alchemists craft a lot more of them, in a sense, because they're consumable for combat, right? They only last like 30 seconds, I believe, some shit like that. I don't know. I don't remember what they last in WoW. I think like 15 seconds, maybe 30, maybe a minute. I don't know. I think it's 30 seconds. Either way, make it so that master alchemists don't have a chance to craft double or 5. They craft them 10 at a time, constantly. There's no such thing as a chance. You're a master alchemist. You can use this amount of material to craft this amount. That's it. Boom. You can craft 10. Rank 3, you're good. You know what you're doing. You can craft 10 at a time. Would make crafting a lot easier and would lower the price substantially.
And that's the thing where the gold requirements are just so completely insane that boosting communities they're not going to go anywhere while while the demand for boosting is there. Sorry, well, the demand or the supply, either one. The supply, I guess, because it's the mythic raiders doing the boosts. They're the ones who need the money. And that's kind of the problem, was like, none of this stuff went away. None of this stuff went away, and it's not going to go away until Blizzard take a hardline stance or fix the underlying problem. That kind of pansy ass, don't be at this. We all celebrated it fairly enough, but just that, don't be boosting. We don't like that. We have slightly changed the wording of our rules. Please no boost. So that's the awkward thing.
Guilds angry at each other.
Mostly just Scribe saying he doesn't blame Method, but like it's obvious they're cornered into doing that stuff. They're cornered into doing that stuff. Blizzard were told about this in private. They haven't responded, so all the information.
So right, Method are
working with Dawn to just boost. Just continue boosting.
So no RMT or anything, but it's basically
not that we know of. Just full on boosting, but they're not boosting as Method. They're boosting with Dawn. So they're kind of firing a bunch of people in to do. If you scroll down a little bit, it should be there somewhere. But yeah, it's actually a little bit above that. Just the amount of runs that happen. There's a full clear runs, personal loot, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17. So that is 11 runs a day on Horde side. And then 4 additional runs later on Alliance.
Method and other guilds are currently doing this kind of stuff when you ban the boosting communities but keeping the incentive requirements for gold or money to compete. I don't blame Method really here, but Blizzard either needs to loosen up the rules or stop people breaking them. Blizzard was informed about it in private, but they didn't act quick enough, so people made it public, I guess. The reason for it going public is that other guilds are at a massive disadvantage if they don't break the rules. Either way, all of this sucks and we need better systems.
Fun.
Yep.
And that's so many
I like Scribe.
people
Scribe is
not playing
down
the
to
game.
earth.
They are playing the game, but they're paying to play the game. They're paying to skip all this stuff. And it's so... I mean, I think everyone knows my thoughts, and it's not the way the game should be played, realistically, because you're just being boosted, you're getting a free kill, free gear. It's a perversion of what the game's about,
Here's the thing,
fundamentally.
Though, right? I don't mean...
Yeah.
you know, EPGP
Yeah.
existed a long time ago.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen to be dominant.
Mm.
You then look at gold runs in Classic
Yeah.
and the amount of people saying that they're ruining it
Mm.
and stuff like that. It's like interesting. So they sort of existed but didn't ruin it in the past.
Mm.
Now in the future it does. And I don't want to go all, you think you do it but you don't.
Yeah.
But a degree of this is like,
Yeah.
motherfuckers boost.
Yeah. It's,
If people want boosts and there is a way to sell boosts, it's going to fucking happen. And ultimately, I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to pull J. Allen Bracken, everyone.
oh, just free market principles, like absolutely.
That's true.
That's it. But like, it's quite interesting because
You're
all
not
that shit
gonna
was
get the
possible in
classic
past.
feeling.
Yeah.
It's only really happening now
Yeah.
because
Yeah, you weren't
it's,
able to do
so
certain things in the past. You can do them now.
lubricated by
Yeah.
technology.
And it's
100%.
also more pervasive, which makes it more culturally acceptable.
Yeah, and
Yep.
the whole
Yep.
loot culture
Big
of the game
difference.
has like changed and evolved as well.
Yeah, people play for loot, not to play.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know what? Our motherfuckers' brains just broken. Nobody knows how to play a game for fucking intrinsic enjoyment anymore.
Yeah.
The entire industry is basically fucked, and the RPGification of every single thing into every single fucking game, combined with, I don't know, the fucking TikToks and the Twitters and the news and everything eroding people's fucking brain. And it just turns out it's all fucked because people are the common denominator, and the way that we just approach shit and deal with it is different. It's changing. I think probably getting worse. Maybe I'm just a big doomer about it all.
It's very difficult.
You know what I'm getting at,
it's
though.
very difficult to keep any sense of hope or what's the term for an anti-doomer? A bloomer.
A bloomer.
Yeah.
A
Soft
bloomer
and
instead of a
flash and stuff.
doomer.
It's hard to not be a doomer when you think about it in those like objective terms of things are getting worse. Obviously, look, well, is there a turning point where things could get better? That's where maybe a bloomer might come from.
Look, I would say not everything is worse. I would say it's like the player base moved up. So it's like at first it was like Blizzard was here, player base was here. So all the systems that Blizzard designed were keeping the player like following what Blizzard is doing, right? But as the technology advanced and the internet advanced, suddenly you have players going up, right, in speed while Blizzard's doing this. With their systems, but player base is just fucking going way up in how they deal with problems, and they become very much better problem solvers with all the tools that they have now. Blizzard is just stuck here, like it barely moved from here to here. That's it. That's what Blizzard did throughout the years. Blizzard needs to change the system according to what the players can do, right? Players are really good at problem solving. Blizzard needs to problem solve the problem solving. In my opinion, the easiest way to do it, make current tier more limited, or like not accessible to gold. That's the easiest way to do it. Current tier not accessible to gold. I don't know how easy it is um, to actually code it, but it can't be that hard, right? Honestly, what you can do technically, remove all gear drops, change everything to tokens, and you can buy all the gear with tokens, which would solve a lot of the RNG problems. And gear is at that point not tradable. Every time you kill a boss, you get a token. Everyone advances at the same pace, and that's it. There's massive deficits to it. There's no like, wow, I got this finally. It's like there's no like, what do you call it? That adrenaline and that serotonin hype. But at the same time, you will avoid this problem completely. You cannot buy best in slot gear with gold. There's no reason to boost. All you need is the consumables, which either grindable, more accessible, or that's where your gold will go, right? And in that case, if you only need that much gold for the items, you won't need to boost as much and won't be as needed. Also, other players will not have as much gold as well, which would kill the inflation in the servers.
For me, it's that kind of thing of like, I feel like this is probably reversible. I feel like I don't know if people paying for boost are happy about it. I think they're doing it because there's some like I'm trying to think of a different way to put this, like a real world allegory. But it's the idea of just, I don't think people are happy to pay for boosts. I think people would be happier if they played the game.
Yeah.
But all of the games design and I guess cultural
Yeah.
design, social design, and loot design is kind of pushing them into it.
I don't know if that's what pushing them into it. It's more like it's a guarantee, I would say. A boost is a guarantee. Pushing your key to 15 on an alt, on a character, just getting, like, if you're not in a guild, getting your first key to 15 is annoying as fuck. Even if most of your runs are good, the fact that one failed run, let's say up to, let's say, +9, +10, okay, at the beginning of the season, I would say +7, you can get a +2 key, a +3 key maybe, right? Once you hit +7, most players, by far, most players who are able to do +7 will only get a +1. Beginning of the season, I mean, right? Beginning to mid, right? It's like a late season, you get like +2 on the sevens, but it's like you get +2s maybe on an 11 and most and 13 plus. It depends on the week if you get a +1 or a +2. But the problem is, you get into those +1s. Let's say from 11 to 12 to 13 to 14 to 15, you got a +1 each, right? That's 5 runs: 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, right? You got a +1. Now imagine, so you need 5 rounds, so that's approximately 5 hours of your time because of forming group and all that stuff. Now you don't also know which dungeon you're gonna get. Some dungeons might be duds, and you know, if it's a dud dungeon, like the week is really shitty for a dungeon, it's gonna be harder, not worth it. It's a dungeon you hate, for whatever reason, right? Then you have the failed dungeons. So you need 5 runs of dungeons that are definitely doable. Now you need dungeons that also didn't fail. And I would say, let's say approximately you have a 25% chance to fail. So that means you need to do 2 more runs. So that's 7 hours of your time to maybe, hopefully, get a +10 to a +15 anywhere between middle to early to mid season. 7 hours. If you only have the weekend to play, I don't know if you want to spend 7 hours doing mythic pluses on repeat. But you buy a boost, it's a +15, boom, done. You play 1 hour, you paid the gold, and you're done. You're done for the week. You got your +15. And once you have your +15 or +16, whatever, you can get a +15 in the next vault, and you can start from there instead of having to go all the way back. And this is extremely prevalent for alts. For mains, usually mains are able to push the key and whatever, and especially like at the beginning, it's fine. But once you get an alt and you gotta do those +15s, man, fuck this shit. I don't want to grind from 2 to 15 because I haven't played a character that has a shitty key. Now I have to grind all the way to 15. Dude, I might as well buy a boost, pay my, I don't know, what is it, well, 150, 160k gold, and fuck it. Call it a day.
Where it's like, well, would you rather have, the gear is more valuable than playing the game? So I think, like, fundamentally, from the experience of this game, it is Blizzard's problem to solve, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this like the fucking the
Gear
video
is more
game
valuable.
equivalent of, I don't know, like parts of things in Japan going loopy, so people just fucking live in a manga cafe now?
And the reason I'm saying um, gear is by far more relevant than enjoyment of the game is because of how hard they made gear to get. In order to get your look, some people can do mythic plus for fun. Usually those guys are doing the +18s and +20s, but you know what else they're doing? They're getting their 10 mythic +15 or higher done for the vault, so they're also getting their gear. If there was absolutely no gear in mythic plus, no one would really do it. Maybe for like a personal challenge, but like no one would really do it. That's the gist of it. Why would they?
Yeah,
I've fallen
exactly.
through the cracks.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I think this is fundamentally Blizzard's problem to solve for how they want to play, or how they want people to play their game. And I feel like everyone buying a boost is Blizzard's problem to solve.
Totally.
Yep.
Everyone selling a boost is also Blizzard's problem to solve, because it's like you've got supply and demand, right? What they've done by trying to tell these boosting communities to please go away, but we won't punish you in any way. Just please slightly go away because we don't have anyone to ban you because we fired all our customer support. Whoops. That's like an attack on the supply side of boosting. And they could attack that by going, okay, so all of this like heavy loot requirement, not loot requirement, heavy gold requirement for like world first guilds and a lot of mythic guilds, we'll remove that. We'll cut that down, which fundamentally means personal loot and the trading stuff needs to kind of go or be worked around in a way, or no longer needs to be required because that's where most of their gold is going to. At the minute, it's like not all of it, but most of it is. BOEs and stuff and crafted items are still going to be expensive. So it's like they need to sort that out in a little bit of well. Didn't the VP of Blizzard promote boosting too? The president of Blizzard, Mackie Barr, does boosts, yeah.
Yeah, that's just because he's a World of Warcraft player and top end guilds like him do boosts. It's how they fund a whole bunch of their, their cost of playing the game and earn gold for their players.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We're like
he's doing that as a player.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of that thing where it is I guess soft confirmed as a thing that's perfectly okay to do because he does it. That's kind of the way it's going to be looked at. But the supply thing needs to be addressed. Obviously, that's one way of solving the problem. The other is the demand side of things.
I would say
why are
solve only the demand. The supply thing is you can't solve it really. It's like saying I want to solve people selling gold. Like you're not gonna solve it. Reduce the demand for gold. Reduce the demand for boosts. There's no demand. The supply will die on its own. All you're gonna do if you decrease the supply is you're gonna increase the demand. If you increase the demand, the suppliers that are left can just increase their prices. That's not a good fucking method.
Do they have excess gold? With how some people are emptying for gold and using Moo token and stuff, maybe some have a load of excess gold because they're like in control of the market. So they have like gold cap on a load of characters that have nothing to do with it, so they buy boosts instead of the going through the black market auction house, which in itself is an attack on the demand of boosting.
Yeah.
In that way, but the other thing is make progression more fun.
Yeah, totally.
It's like this is a thing where imagine well, it wouldn't have been a massive. Actually, no, it would because mythic boosts are pretty expensive and popular towards the end of a tier for cutting edge and stuff. So you would maybe, because I know I'm thinking about it because Nagura had a tweet here, and Nagura was talking about a potential problem to like the whole mythic top percentage, etc., being remove mythic gear as a physical item stuff, make it only cosmetic. That would be like one solution.
Like with ultimates?
Yeah. Basically that, and that would be like one solution in a way.
That would be fine. I'm totally down for that.
Still want a mythic.
I think I saw Nagura's stream when she talked about it.
All of the like amount of supply necessary there for boosters needing to go and get all that stuff. But the other thing is like just cutting out that demand by fixing gearing and fixing looting and making the game more fun, more enjoyable to play.
Yeah.
There is obviously points where you're like, it doesn't matter how fun it is, people will want the social aspect of, oh, I want the title. Oh, I want cutting edge. Yeah. I'm not going to, I'm going to buy that. But I think
but it's going to be a lot less.
I think people would rather play the game and have the fun experience. But whatever's stopping them from doing that.
Would they?
I'm assuming that because I'm assuming people want to play the game. But
this is right.
Well, also okay. I'm not just assuming that. I'm assuming that's what Blizzard want of them as well.
True, but now we're going to get into the fucking dark side of video games.
Yeah.
Right. So take Archero.
Yeah.
Archero would not be a successful game if people played it for its intrinsic gameplay.
For sure. Yeah.
It's only successful because it provides that virtual work and it locks people into a Skinner box.
Yeah.
So I think what has sort of happened is the more that we focus on loot and all of that stuff, that's the goal. The content's just a way to get there.
Yeah.
And we have Archero's basically almost any of those mobile games where you can see the core of the toy in the game and how it could be fun, and then you just see it get completely perverted just to rinse people full of money and buy gems and shit.
Oh yeah.
Like so many of those mobile games, they do well because they have one game mode that is like decently fun, but then they just make the humongous fucking treadmill, and that's how it's monetized. People basically pay for a boost.
Yeah.
And the exact same reason why somebody will buy a chest of loot in Archero or a whole bunch of, I don't know, loot boxes full of gear in Raid Shadow Legends or something. It's
Yeah.
it's some very similar psychology.
Yeah.
To why people
Yes.
will want to buy Boost in World of Warcraft. There's slight
Yeah, but
differences.
only
Maybe they feel
problem
like
is with mobile games, don't play them for hours on end. Like you play, like you log in, you play a bit, and that's it. Like you don't, like you play them on the washroom, you play them on your way to work, in the car, in the bus, in the on the train, maybe on your work break. It's like very small spurs. That's why they also have a stamina system in most of these games. So you actually cannot play them all day. Have a stamina. Lately, there's been lately in the last 2 years, a lot of idle games that farms for you while you're offline. But it's like that's not how a PC game is built, right? I would say a PC game is built around many fun systems, many fun encounters, and then on the side you have other stuff that might be annoying or are not necessarily have anything to do with your power. The problem with mobile games, almost everything you buy will have to do with power, not just transmogs.
they need that gear for a social requirement.
Now that in WoW you have all this, like all the gear locked behind content that is too hard to do, you are kind of forced to buy a boost from other players that are able to do it for you.
But that's really hard because the way that we play games is different. In 2004, we played games for their intrinsic fun. At the
No,
height of World of Warcraft in 2008, we played games for intrinsic fun.
I would not agree to that. 2008 is what, Wrath of the Lich King or end of TBC? 2008? No, it should be already Wrath of the Lich King, I believe, or either beginning of Wrath of the Lich King or end of TBC. At that point, I would say most players played for gear. At that point. Classic and beginning of every expansion up until Mists was the exploration aspect. In TBC, I would say exploring the Outlands was fascinating. Classic, the exploration was fascinating. I remember diving into the water off of the Teldrassil and just swimming around Teldrassil like a maniac, trying to find secrets. That's how people found the GM on, because exploration was such a big part of it. Like you just want to learn to find some secret stuff that devs hid, which they never really did, almost ever, in the world, right? And be the first one to discover it because it was new. In Cataclysm, there was a bit more. There was a bit exploration, not more. There was a bit of exploration because people want to see what was different in the world right now, and if they maybe added something else. TBC and Wrath again was kind of cool to explore, but not as cool as Classic. And in Mists of Pandaria, I would say if they didn't add the treasures, no one would explore shit, right? And then once everyone found the treasures and there was the um, what do you call it, the tooltip, whatever, like the add-on that shows you where all the treasures are and the levels and all that stuff, exploration died that moment. Same with the WoD treasures. Was fun at first. For the first run through of exploration with the treasure was kind of cool, but I would say towards what do you call that zone where the middle zone, tell something, I don't remember the name. Teldrassil, no. Anyways, Talador, I think. Yeah, I think Talador was the name of the zone where Shatrath was supposed to be. Up until that zone was some exploration. After that, I was like, fuck it, I don't care about exploration anymore. I just want to get to like max level. Even though the questing was kind of fun, once you hit max level, like that's it. Like it was over, and then after that, the treasures were just like an XP grind for you. Legion, I don't think anyone cared about exploration except for the Broken Isle, I guess maybe, but you kind of died there instantly, so that kind of went to shit right away. BFA, no one gave a shit about exploration. Shadowlands, no one really gave a shit about exploration. People just followed the treadmill. So I highly doubt anyone, like, I'm not saying that exploration is the only fun, but it's like the more you play WoW, the less fun you have leveling. That's basically what I'm trying to say. the more years you have on WoW, the less fun you're gonna have playing it.
Still, like there was some of that loot stuff, and Marquee Dragon and all of those, the RMT stuff. Like, yeah, sure, that was all happening in MMOs. But is it any surprise that the RMT shit that appeared in early MMOs, the whole MMOs, the genre that's all about virtual work, I mean, does that not completely predict so much of mobile game monetization? For like
Yes,
some of the psychological hooks.
Yeah.
So
to an
it's
extent.
like track that forward, that's where we are now. How do you rewire people's brains to play things?
But that didn't come from MMO, that came from FIFA. MMO just adopted it, but it came from FIFA. But either way, it's the same concept.
For the intrinsic reasons, right? Because ultimately it's like, yeah, you could play the you could play some game that exists. I mean, our game is like that on purpose. It's only a thing you could ever play for intrinsic, reasons. It's like that for so many, other games that exist. But we kind of get sucked in to a lot of these live service games that are all just about providing extrinsic reasons to play the game, and that's what hooks us to those games and keeps us to those games. I think that's why it's so hard for like new games to penetrate the shooter market and so much of that, because
a shooter is a shooter is a shooter.
We're no longer
man.
gamers playing games. We're people who have fallen in to the fucking virtual work camp of a live service, where we can, I don't know, like pay someone to get some loot smuggled in so we can get ahead in the rat race.
I would agree to an extent. The main problem with any online game is that there is always a rat race. And the problem with like games like WoW, the rat race is extremely unforgiving in the sense that it's like if you suck at, if your RNG is shit, you can be the best player in the world, but you will have to put way more time than other players to get the gear, right? I like having loot that you know that you're gonna get. Guarantee. Not necessarily immediately, but a guarantee that you can get it. I don't want to farm for the same piece for 2 months and hopefully it drops and hopefully I get the highest roll. That's not fun. Imagine your best in slot is on one of the hardest bosses of a mythic raid, and your guild only clears it twice because the first time you cleared it was the prog, second time you did a re-clear, but after that you start saving because, man, honestly, this boss just takes us the whole fucking night to clear. Not worth the effort. We're gonna save the progress and just get your item somewhere else. Get your item level from somewhere else. And it's still your best slot. Or, worst, it takes a night to kill one of the bosses. Eventually it will be like one shot, one kill, right? You only want the drop from this one boss. It is the 9th or 8th boss of the mythic raid. You have to deal with 7 other fucking bosses. By the time you get there, you're already fucking drained. You kill this boss, you don't get the loot, and so you go for a month or 2 months. That's not fun. That's really not fun, especially with how difficult they make bosses. It's not difficult on a single, on like for you personally. It's difficult for Bob, how Asmongods call him, for John to not fuck it up for everyone else. That's the difficulty of the raids right now. That's not fun in my opinion. It's extremely fucking annoying, and honestly, it's not worth it. That's all it is. In my opinion, it's not worth it. You have to deal with the John and the Bob and I don't know, Kanduli and Fanduli, and you can't play how you want. You can't get the gear because Kanduli, Fanduli, John, and Bob are ruining your fucking experience because they fucking suck, or they're like, oh, they don't feel too good, or one player got sick and now you have a 19 team roster for a mythic raid clear or a progress, and now you have to wait. You have to skip that day because you can't find a fill that wants to come in for the 8th boss or 9th boss of the raid because we'll lock them for all the other fucking bosses. Fuck that shit. Give me the fucking loot. Man, that was a rant about all like raiding as a whole.
I'm not saying this is like a big thing that the game devs are trying to do. I mean, okay, on
It
mobile,
is.
because you know
They
many
100% are.
mobile game devs are
100%
evil as fuck and are, they're not evil people, but the output of their professional careers, unfortunately, is bad for humanity,
Yeah,
and I think it's okay to let them know that.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
so
fine. This is what it
I
is.
find
It's
it
not gonna
ethically
change.
questionable
Of
to.
course.
Yeah, in the same way, it's like I find it ethically questionable to work at Facebook. It's fucking ethically questionable to be working in mobile games monetized in
It
that
is,
manner.
but if they didn't do it,
But
someone
all of
else would.
these
So
things I think are kind of working in similar human psychology that then applies in an MMO.
Yeah.
And I just think about like, I mean, I'd never get a boost because
What's the point?
for me? What's the point?
Yeah.
Evidently, there are loads of people who want a boost because, yeah,
because time
they
is money.
feel for maybe they get the same psychological resistance of being in a free to play mobile game where you reach that point in the grindiness curve after they've given you all your freebies. Where at this point it's like, okay, you could grind this game for 5 hours, of course, which you have to do over a week, because of fucking energy bars and shit. Or you could just buy this special epic reward chest, 40% off, buy now. And they're like, oh, I'm going to buy that so that I can get ahead in the thing.
Yeah, but here's the problem with it in MMOs. Now, Bellular plays games for a living as well as the podcast, as well as working on his game. I don't know how much time he has to play. Someone who only has time to play on the weekend, has a family and all that stuff, you only have time to play on the weekend, and let's say you only have 2 hours of your day. You are not grinding that Mythic Plus. You're paying for a boost and you go in right away and you get what you need done. That's it. And like honestly, it would cost you less money to do that. Right now, tokens are 150 gold, 150k gold. Back when we went, it was 220k or some shit like that. For 20 bucks, you get 220k gold. That's one run. That's 1 hour. You make 40 bucks an hour. Fuck it, I'll buy even 2 tokens for that and save myself the time. Instead of maybe you make more. I don't know. Doesn't matter, right? And that's not how much I make. I just like, let's say I made 40 bucks an hour. I spent 220s. I'd rather I start comparing, like the hour in real life is gonna be equivalent to 2 hours of gameplay, or I don't spend the money I make in real life and I waste my whole fucking weekend trying to get a Mythic Plus going.
It's like it's the same psychology as goes on in boosting.
Yeah.
It's not
And
accessible.
I don't think Blizzard intend for this to happen.
You know what
But
I
it's
think
what's
they should do, honestly? Have a Mythic Plus queue. Just queue in. Random Mythic Plus 10. Fuck it. Up to a certain level. From 10 to 15, like 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, anything else. Up to a plus 10, fuck it. You can queue into that shit. And if, let's say, you have a plus 2 key and you finish a plus 10 in the queue, you get a plus 10 key. Your key just turns to a plus 10 or a plus 11, sorry, because you finished it. Or some shit like that. Fuck it.
happening to the psychology of gamers because every game is a progression now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Vertical
obviously
progression.
there's a whole bunch of different ways you could approach
problem
this.
is
You can approach
vertical
this from the ethical
progression.
standpoint of, well, Blizzard is ignoring the fact that they're Activision Blizzard King, a company that's ultimately beholden to their shareholders. If you think about Blizzard, the game development company, and all of the creative staff involved, is like, do you back creative or money? For the creative side, you would hope that they're like, okay, well, we want to make a game that people want to play. We want people to engage with the gearing loop for the fun reason, and this in the way that
Well, clearly WoW
like,
doesn't.
there's
And
no
also
point
WoW
of, like,
didn't
I
need
guess
to.
Destiny 2, for example. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's definitely boost going on there as well, but I'm sure there's no point of that. The devs think, okay, how can we earn more money out of this extrinsic reward loop for I guess they'll be looking for engagement, which they assume is fun, as opposed to monetization. Obviously, you could argue they're
But
close
not gonna
enough,
lie, Destiny 2 was
and
like
that's kind of
really
like,
fun to play
okay, well,
for.
you'd
I
expect
think I played
Blizzard
for
would
like
want
half
people
a
to
year.
play
It
the
was really
game
fun.
more naturally,
Mm-hmm.
because that would
One problem
align
is the
with
NPCs
what
are
game devs
fucking
want people
dog
to do.
shit, and
I'm
hackers
sure
and
if you ask
PvP
them,
was not fun.
Would you rather have people boost, or would you rather have people play the game? The answer would probably be do whatever they want, but if pushed, they'd probably say play the game naturally. So it's like you want to design a better loop for people to do that in, so they're less reliant on going the outside way, the outside route. You want to make it more fun. You want to make it more deterministic. You want to make it less frustrating when you don't get gear. I think that's one of the ways they could actually solve the problem. But that would be like kind of taking a full examination of the current existing system, and that kind of falls apart when you have difficulty looped into it, because people are just fundamentally going to be like, well, I'm literally not a good enough player for heroic.
Yeah.
And there is, in a world where there is, all the systems in the game to say, hey, here's how to improve, here's how to get better, here's ways to
Yeah.
find guilds and find groups and find pugs that are going to help you through this and help you like improve. The boosting option will always be the shortcut. So there's nothing they can really do around that, because people want loot in their game. But they could clean up the system and they could make the treadmill, they could take the big shiny boost now, this will be easier route from their treadmill, and kind of make it a bit smaller and kind of make the treadmill more
I
fun
would
to be.
say any player, no matter how much he is playing, whatever, can get to a point where they're doing heroic raiding. Unless like an 80-year-old grandma that never used technology and suddenly she wants to play WoW. But a player who's like, actually tries to play the game and wants to be able to do heroic raiding, I believe any player that actually wants to do heroic raiding can. In a pug. Or more correctly, even can or can't, they should be able to. That's how good the difficulty should be. Or how bad the difficulty should be. It should be that easy for everyone to, if they want to, be able to do heroic raiding in a pug environment.
Beyond, which is
Yeah.
kind of the fundamental problem of that's a hard thing to do. But it's like that. Those are the two sides of boosting: supply and demand. Supply is a pretty easy enough solve outside of the the loot kind of problems that they're trying to solve by making personal loot more clear. And then the demand side, which is people are just going to want to boost. It's
Yeah,
how do you make a game that's so fun people would rather play it than boost?
Th- that, but then there is the problem that fun doesn't win in the industry now.
that's true.
Yeah.
That is big
Creating
true.
the
Except
best Skinner
except
box,
Elden Ring.
the best progression loop to get people tackled in, that tends to be what wins.
Yeah.
So I think there's everything you're saying. I think in addition to that, there's also the broader societal thing, how gaming has changed, how gamers
Yeah.
have changed, and that thing of you could do EPGP runs in actual WoW Classic. Probably when, I mean, literally buying gold was like a massive thing. It was probably harder for Blizzard to police at the time because they didn't have as good tools.
Well, it's apparently a lot harder now because they just don't have anyone who does it for them. But yeah.
Yeah. So all that was possible in 2004.
Yeah.
It was so much worse when Classic came out.
Mhm.
Now, a bit of the game has changed.
Mm.
A large part is society has changed. Gamers have changed. I feel like we're in a weird situation where, you see a mount or a title that's at the end of Sylvanas or at the end of some boss fight, right? And in my head, it's like, oh, well, if I got that, that would be awesome. That would be like a real testament to the cool thing that I did. But now I think we have this attitude of that's content in the game. I want that. I want that. I want that reward. But it's like, it's a reward for doing something. And in my head, I don't want that reward if I haven't earned it.
Yeah.
But evidently, it's not like
Same.
that for a bunch of people. And that's one thing that drives boosting is wanting to get the title, the mount. The
Same.
achievement.
That's why I don't
guess
buy
the
items.
other side of it is just the
I
gearing
never
thing.
buy items
I
unless it's
have
mugs.
a feeling the next expansion could do some good things on that, purely because it seems like gearing is going to be something that you, the player, have a good bit more control over. And perhaps if people feel like they have that control, then they don't feel like they need to get an entire, fucking raid worth of loot funneled into them just to be ready to go. But perhaps a world where we were all playing more alts, but gearing was also a bit faster, a bit more liberal in a way.
A bit?
Maybe people would feel the need to boost less.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm
Yeah,
saying. It's
accessibility to gear,
they-
yeah.
Everything's changed.
Yeah, everything's changed, but I don't like super engaging with that like doomer gaming has changed mindset, even though it's real. I'll obviously engage with it for like analytics or engaging in terms of the thing. But when it comes to personally or like talking about what Blizzard should kind of do, I think that's kind of that's the lie down and die and just let the industry
Yeah,
become
yeah.
that way. Whereas I think there are
Yeah.
ways they can actually just de-incentivize boosting by making the demand for boosting lesser, by making it, like we're talking about, more deterministic, make it a little bit more fun. Fun doesn't win, but you don't want to win 100%. You want to tilt the balance.
Yeah.
It's almost like you were saying earlier about when we're talking about loot, they like 80% good, 20% bad. It's like, if it just so happens that what your changes will do will, you know, make people less likely to boost because they're going to, get the gear better, get the gear quicker, get the gear easier, or, there's more systems in place for them to, not literally design systems, but more like social factors in place for them to get, oh, hey, I can join a group, and then they'll go and do heroic. It's kind of the case where, I'm trying to add, yeah, I'll go into a little bit, but like, even the different for ultimates because they're really hard in FF, and you have to fully clear Savage and then go to them. But for Savage difficulty, like, because that game's so different in terms of how much gear you need and that like gearing loop not being as big a part of the game, you can just join Savage groups in Party Finder, and because of how Party Finder there is operated,
Yep.
and how Party Finder strats
Yep.
are engaged and how bosses are designed,
Yep.
everything's a lot smoother there.
Yeah.
Where you just join a group.
Yep.
Everyone has their own part to play. Everyone plays their own part. Everyone, how we handshake at the end, like, yep, we all did great there. We got our boss down. It was fun. It was exciting. Completely different, like, game, completely different
Oh, yeah.
structure.
100%.
But that's like the thing of that is designed to be really easy to
I
get
don't
into.
mind. I don't mind that mythic rating is not the same as savage rating, but in my opinion, no normal raid is LFR. Savage raid is heroic. Anything past that is cosmetics, and I think that's more than you need. You do not need 4 different difficulties. Make normal LFR, make heroic the mythic, and make mythic transmog or slash ultimate or whatever. Make mythic rating, for all I care, a boss rush. That would even be cooler.
Really easy to play, and they still have boosting there 100%.
Yeah.
But it's not as
Yes.
pervasive as World of Warcraft, and also some of that is because they have CMs who just destroy people who are spamming for boosts. So it's
Yeah.
like all of these different things Blizzard could do to nip this problem in the bud. There's no harm in them doing it. I think ultimately, if they all make it positive as opposed to highly punitive, I would never say everyone who's bought a boost ban them. I wouldn't say everyone who's boosted ban them. I would say get people who spam, get rid of them.
Yep.
If you don't like boosting communities, hence the original post, then go harder on them and actually get rid of them, because that's clearly what they kind of wanted to do, but they didn't want to do it too hard. So maybe they need another stab at that. But it is a thing. It's like,
Still saying Savage mounts are also 100% drop even after the tier.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's all those things that just make the game a little bit nicer to play. I mean, yeah, gears, like, obviously there's no wasted gear in Savage because everything drops a coffer, which turns into whatever your job whenever you use it.
Yep.
Stuff like that. It just kind of makes it a lot smoother, and that's not like saying that's better, but it's just a case of, yeah, casual players don't have the time, but they have the money. That's why boosters are popular.
Yeah.
Then that's a problem for Blizzard to solve. Are too many people buying their way through this game instead of playing it? Is that because it takes too long? Okay, we have to make it take less time. Then more of our audience
I
will engage
100%
in the game the
agree.
way we
I
intend.
100% agree. Shit is taking too long. Therefore, you're gonna make a shortcut. That's pretty much why. If doing a mythic plus, let's say, on a boost, it will take you, let's say, to buy the boost, everything, whatever, 45 minutes to an hour, but you get it done for sure. But to push your own mythic plus key will take you also, like, let's say you can do 3 mythic plus keys in the time it takes you to do 1 boost. I would say more people will do the mythic plus. Is it possible? Hell no. Obviously, it's not possible, right? But less likely people would boost because they can get the keys done, like go, go, go. In my opinion, if you get a queue system for certain mythic pluses, you're good to go.
And in design, this is making a lot of assumptions in their intention, of course. They could be completely happy with this because more people enjoy the long raids than the problem they have with boosters. So that could be like a thing of they would need to weigh that internally to figure out that change. But that's the stuff of like that's kind of the the kind of all I've fucking talked about every single part of this basically. There's so much to it, and it's so much it boils down to people need to enjoy playing the game more, and also get rid of RMT and WoW token. You'd also solve the problem too.
That would help with a lot.
Yep.
I think it's worth acknowledging that a lot of things have changed.
Yeah.
As World of Warcraft has aged in terms of how we view games, how games are played, how people are taught to play games, and I feel like that also is playing a really large role. Not to kind of give Blizzard loads of excuses. I feel like they ended up sleepwalking into a situation because things, attitudes, etc., even outside of their game kind of changed.
Yeah.
But undoubtedly, a lot of their own design decisions and additions of friction in their own game.
They don't need to add friction. There's already too much friction, though. Friction is the worst thing that the devs have ever done. Like, why? It's like they're so afraid of people getting loot and then quitting that they just can't let people get loot so they can play their alts. No one has time to fully commit. Well, not no one, but it's like many people do not have time to fully commit to WoW and have multiple characters and maybe play a different game. It is impossible. Right now, barely making 2 characters relevant and playing a different game is pretty much impossible.
A greater demand for this, and also supply was enabled.
Yep.
And it's like, how could they contend with how incredibly, I mean, just the customer service angle of it, where it almost gets to be.
What are these?
I want a new
Why do I
driver
see
to
all of
take me through
like
this raid.
these things on
the
everyone's
Discord
walls?
bots and all of that stuff. And you think about Blizzard and multi-billion-dollar company. Well, ultimately, this will fall to a team of a few people.
Yep.
And in a way, it's like, what are they combating? Oh, the distributed organizational and technological output of a whole fucking community of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people.
I mean, it's
Or
exactly
probably also
it's
just
exactly
as
the same as the
skillful.
add-on side of things.
Yeah.
Where they're like, "Man, we can't beat you. You're too good. We literally can't beat you." Even the same with Mythic raid design, whereas like players are getting better. We need to make stuff harder. God, this is difficult.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. But just because before I forget, KW talked about earlier in chat about Elden Ring. And I think that's interesting as not like as a counterpoint, but as like a additional thing to say about, you're talking about, things have very much changed in gaming, and a lot more people are like hooked on the extrinsic side of things and the mobile style of gaming of, here's the extrinsic thing, get it at any cost, even if that's financial. There is a counterpart where Elden Ring shows that there is a substantial amount of the gaming populace. Obviously, it's like far away from the World of Warcraft side of things. It's it's the console gamers, PC gamers, those kind of people, as opposed to the MMO audience. But there is a healthy desire for that kind of no frills, fun video game exploration, adventure, all that stuff is still there. So it's not like that's all going by the wayside. It's just that the one that makes the more money and is the easier to make is the one that's naturally becoming the bigger portion of the industry, the bigger slice of the pie.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and that's a thing where there's definitely
make more money now.
Blizzard should maybe try a little bit. I would like to see that, but also they also have to make the game good at the same time. So I think they might just be a little bit overwhelmed, to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard to make games, especially big ones.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's such a fascinating topic.
But they're not making a big game. They already have a big game. Just have to maintain it properly.
Blizzard needs to work out how they can enforce the spirit of their rule.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's kind of weird because it definitely is different rules for the top guilds.
For sure.
Because there's people in the top guilds who've literally admitted that... Was it Scribe?
Yeah, Scribe's like, yeah, we bought a load of RMT gold. Like, yep, sure.
Yeah.
No problem.
100%.
And that's...
Why wouldn't they?
An interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally just his nuts are too big for Blizzard to ban him because they banned Scribe. Was it Echo at that point, or was he still Method? I think he was still Method at the time. But anyway, he banned Scribe now. Echo goes away. That's they don't want that to happen because it's part of their big Halo product. They're race to world first, and like that's just something they have to contend with, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Alright, overall good video. Yep. Agree on most of it. I mean, everything just can work, but like I would say just some of it is just not gonna be enough. Anyways,